Gamers. Today we're going to talk about trade. There's been it's been a topic quite a bit recently in the Age of Empires 4 community, and I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it. I've seen it in like discords with devs. I've seen it on my Discord. I've seen it on Twitch chat. I've seen it on other Twitch chats. I've seen it on YouTube. I've seen it in YouTube videos like trade OP, trade unbeatable. And obviously on forums, whether it's A4 forums or the subreddit. And basically all of them are unanimously calling for trade nerfs. The trade is too strong and it cannot be punished and yada yada and so forth. I'm going to start with one-on-ones because that's what a lot of you watch me for and a lot of people play. And then we'll move on to the probably bigger player base, but maybe not so much, you know, my scene, I guess. So for the one-on-ones, in the current map pool, which I'm going to talk about later, I'm not going to talk about like custom maps or whatever, trading is, I would say, in one-on-ones, theoretically, should only be viable with Mongols. And when I say should be viable, I mean if you play a map like Dry Arabia, French Pass. I can see Malian's trade being good on French Pass, but I don't play French Pass because it sucks. But like Dry Arabia, French Pass, maybe Lipany, depending where the neutral market is. The Pit is a very good trading map. Mongolian Height can be decent, but not really. And then Wetlands and Prairie are also good trade maps. So I think right now we have the map pool that is probably the best we've ever had for trade specific. I'm talking specifically about Prairie, Wetlands, and the Pit are insane maps for trading. And French Pass. So that's 4 out of, how many maps is this? 4 out of 9 maps that it's like the best trading maps we've ever had. And even with that, going the way of trading, the only civ that can actually trade in high level one-on-ones, I'm going to talk about high level and then potato level, right? Is Mongol, and only against certain civs in certain situations. I've played a lot of Mongol trade, I've played a lot against Mongol trade, and I think it's viable to do. I think it's possible to do. I think it's far from free winning. And I think it is punishable. The thing that makes it punishable and it makes it easy to stop is that the one civ that is really good to trade, which is Mongol, also doesn't have walls. So because Mongol doesn't have walls, it makes it a lot easier to attack Mongols, a lot easier to punish. And then the other civs that do have walls, they gotta build like towers as well, like Malians, and their traders are more expensive. So even though they have walls, they actually need so much resource to set everything up, especially if the trade is long, that usually you can punish it. So if you're aggressive early on in the game, most of the time you can stop the trade or at least do enough damage to where the game is even and you can continue playing and, you know, try to push into the trade, because not having walls is a big weakness. So I personally don't think that trading at a high level, I'm talking in, you know, top 100 in the world, I don't think trading is a problem. I don't think it requires nerfs, because if it was a problem, everyone would be doing it and I would lose a bunch of games to it and everyone would be losing a bunch of games to it, but that's not the case. That's not what's happening. I actually wonder what the win rates are with silver trade with Mongols at a high level, but like I said, it is a non-issue. In lower leagues, in one-on-ones, I'm talking like, I'll just say diamond and under, trading can be a problem. And the reason why I say can be a problem is because of the play styles that the players play. So, obviously in lower leagues, players don't have as much APM, they don't have as much multitasking, they don't have as good macro, yada yada. And trading is the kind of thing that you just make traders and they go back and forth without doing anything and you get a lot of resources. So the reason why I say is can be good or can be bad is if you're meeting a Joe from Platinum and you're Bob from Platinum and Bob does the trade, if Joe's style is to be aggressive, Joe will probably kill Bob because Bob will not be able to defend the trade efficiently. He's just going to fall apart and die, and Joe is used to attacking, Joe is used to being aggressive, so the opponent is trading, has no units, Joe is going to win, right? And then you have the other side where if you are, you know, the kind of Joe who is like, all right, brother, 30 minutes, you know, no attacking, hell yeah, I'm gonna make my own, TCs, you do whatever, and he doesn't scout, he doesn't do anything. And then surprise Pikachu, 20 minutes later the opponent is in Imperial because he's had like 80 traders going and he's, molding the trade is broken, right? So you have two of those in 1 versus 1 specifically in lower leagues. And I feel like this is why there's not as much complaining in 1-on-1 specifically. Complaining is more so targeted for team games. So my best advice is if you play 1-on-1s, you need to attack the trade. I know you might think you're gonna outboom it, or you're gonna do this, or you're gonna do that. You need to attack the trade. That is my advice to you. I personally don't think trading is a problem in 1-on-1, and I don't think it should be changed because of 1-on-1 specifically. And here's why. If one guy is sitting in his base in a multiplayer 1-on-1 game for 30 minutes, then comes out, and the guy has so much because of trade, you deserve to lose as in an RTS game. RTS games are not supposed to be played like that. This is not single player playing against AIs. It's a competitive 1-on-1 match. Let's say we nerf trade. That same guy, Joe, that camped in his base for 30 minutes, is also going to lose to 5 TC Abbasid or 4 TC China or 3 TC HRE. He's going to lose the exact same way because he hasn't moved out. So then where does it stop? Do we just nerf TCs as well then because he's just not attacking? And that's something that I think it's a dangerous road to go because players are just not attacking in the first place. It's a strategy that requires you to attack, right? Just like if HRE is rushing castle, you need to either stop their gold or get castle yourself and make crossbows, and everyone's fine with that. The same way, if the opponent's going to trade, you need to attack into them. And that's something that I think more people need to learn and more people need to understand. That it's not, oh, I tried to play passive and it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. It's like if Mongol is tower rushing you and you do nothing to stop it, and then there's 10 towers around your base, I mean, you lost because you didn't defend, right? You can't just continue doing whatever you're doing. So I follow the same logic. Now, this is for 1-on-1, and if we talked only about 1-on-1s, I would say 100% do not nerf it. I think lower league players need to be more aggressive. Maybe in time they will learn, they will adapt, and kind of hopefully overcome that. Regarding other civs like Ottoman trading or Malian trading or French trading, it's just not as good. Their traders are usually too expensive. Then you have to produce military, you have to defend. If the trade post is too far away, then there's too much ground to cover, and it just becomes a big problem, and it's just not as good as the Mongol trade, right? I mean, it's viable if you don't do anything, and if you sit in your base all day and the guy is trading, then yeah, it's viable for him to trade as a Rus even. Now let's talk about team games. Team games is where more so of this complaining comes from, I would say. More people have trouble with trading in team games. So I'm going to go through 2v2 and 3v3. I'll bunch those two together. And then we're going to move on to the 4v4. So we're going to deal with 1-on-1 separately, 2v2, 3v3, and then 4v4s. I recently played a tournament, the biggest or second biggest team tournament we've had, with like every single pro player, and we won that tournament. The Muslim Marine Lord and I played, and it was basically 2v2, 3v3, 2v2, 3v3 matches, and we won that tournament. So I have played, a lot of you might not think that I don't know anything about team games or don't play team games, but I know quite a lot regarding 2v2s and 3v3s because I practiced a lot for the tournament, and we went through a lot of strategies, including trading. This is something that we have tested. We have tested a lot of Malian trading in 2v2 and Mongol trading in 2v2 because we did not think that the other ones are viable or worth it. So, what was our conclusion? The Malian trading, same thing like 1-on-1, it would just take too long to start paying off, and basically one of my allies would be attacked, or my trade would be attacked, and he would not be able to help me on his own. So we kind of scratched Malian trading. You can do some Malian trading like once you hit castle or a bit later, but not super early. You will simply die. Then we tried Mongol trading, and that had similar effects to 1-on-1, but it was a bit better than 1-on-1. I wouldn't say it was unstoppable, but it was definitely more viable, and it didn't feel like, if the trade is in this spot on this map against this civ, I can do it. felt like you can go for trade. It felt like a strategy that is, stable, and you can do it, and the opponent has to react to it. You're kind of forcing your opponent to attack into you. And we've seen a lot of people trading or attempting to trade, and you have to play with your ally in 2v2 in order to defend the trade or deal with enemy trading. And this is where the problem arises for team games. A lot of people play, random team games. Maybe your ally is just not saying anything. Maybe your ally is not talking. But if the trading 2v2 goes unpunished, you will have similar results to 1-on-1, where you will simply lose in 15 to 20 minutes because it goes completely unpunished. So you cannot break the trade alone, because if two of you attack and one of the guys is trading and one of the guys is making an army, you will have more units and you will be able to win. Problem is more so coordinating that in team games. If you play with someone, if you're duo queuing with someone, I think that becomes a lot easier. But if you're random queuing, that becomes an issue. 3v3s, not actually too different from 1-on-1s, or from 2v2, sorry. But I do feel like it is, again, slightly better. So 3v3s, it's slightly better than 2v2 trading. 2v2 trading is slightly better than 1-on-1 trading. And at the same time, funnily enough, less impactful. Because in 1-on-1, if you trade and you get away with it, you win. Because you just have way more resources than the other guy. In 2v2, if one of you is trading and one is not, and they're both attacking, you have an advantage, but the game is not over. In 3v3, even though it's easier to trade, it's stronger because the distances are longer, so you also have more resources coming in. It is also at the same time, you're one of the 6 players now. So you trading is not as impactful in the whole game, if that makes sense. So for example, while you're trading, the enemy HRE might be going Burger Palace and then making men-at-arms and killing your allies. So while you're trading, that's great, but your allies are dying because one of their players, went for Boom, one of them went for Burger Palace, and one of them went for whatever. So again, you can carry the games, but it becomes a lot harder to do so, but a lot easier to pull off the trade, and it becomes a bit harder to punish it. So while we did experience in that tournament, while we did experience trading, while we played trading, at the same time, we did not think trading was OP. We did not think trading was unstoppable. We practiced a lot against it, and we were simply able to kill the opponents whenever they traded, because the area that they needed to cover in order to prevent like knights or horsemen or spearmen run-bys was just massive, and it was borderline impossible to stop harassment on any of the maps we played on. Now, again, that's on high level, and again, I don't think trade is a problem in 2v2 or 3v3 if you're playing with a teammate and you guys are, decent players, good players playing into it. Now, for lower leagues, this is where the problems start happening. 2v2s, 3v3s, and then we'll talk about 4v4s. So, in 2v2s and 3v3s, like I said, in my opinion, the biggest issue, not with trade, but with team games in general, is trading is a strategy that requires immediate response. If you see the Mongol player going for Silver Tree, you need to make production buildings and you need to attack, right? We've established that. That's how you go about it. Doesn't matter. 1-on-1, 2v2, 3v3. Why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem if you play a random game and your 2 allies are just ignoring you and you're the only one attacking and the other 2 guys are, beating your ass, and then your allies are just AFK, one guy is trading, he like booms like crazy, and suddenly he has like 50 knights in your base or lancers and he just kills you. So I don't think the solution is, for me to tell you just play pre-made teams or something like that. So I do think that the problem with trading, specifically now for right now, is 3v3s and 4v4s. I don't think it's that big of an issue in 1-on-1, 2v2. I do think it's a bigger problem in 3v3 and 4v4 in lower leagues. I haven't done too many 4 versus 4 with like full conquer player lobbies, but I just don't see how you're going to trade and not die. If 4 players go aggressive, even if 1 player is trading, the amount of ground you will need to cover at a high level will simply not be very viable for you to survive, and then it's a 4 versus 3 and you're dead. But the maps in 44 are gigantic because the size is just massive, right? So first of all, scouting is a lot harder. Finding your way around the map is a lot harder. The units to get from your side of the map to the other map takes a long time. And if you get there and then you lose units, it's like by the time the next units arrive, you know, the trades are happening, and this is the problem. So another issue with trading is the traders are extremely cheap. This did not used to be a problem. Traders used to cost, was it 90.90? If I remember correctly? Or 80.80? They were 90.90, I think. So traders used to be... Wait, they were 120, 120. Really? Okay. Okay, I'm getting a lot of different numbers right now. So right now the traders, if you don't know, are 60-60. Mongol traders are 60-30. 60 wood, 30 gold. My point is they were much more expensive. So why is this an issue? Well, for the obvious reason. They're cheaper now. They do return less gold. Okay, so they did nerf the amount of gold you get back. But the math doesn't check out because the traders are cheaper to make, and if the trader completes one trip on not even a full length, like 70-80% of the map length, it paid off. You can lose it and it gave you the return. And this is the issue. So when you make a villager and you send it to gather deer, if you gather once and the villager dies, that is a big loss. You can say, well, I got 25 food, or even 50. Let's say you got 50 food from deer. You can't say, well, I got 50 food and the villager died, it's all good. It doesn't really work like that with traders, because they're your bonus villagers you're making, right? You're making the villagers from DC and you're making trade villagers. You're forcing your opponent to attack you, to make units, while every time the trader slides in and delivers, and maybe even survives, you're getting ahead. You're getting further and further and further and further ahead over time. And if your opponent drops the ball at any point, and you suddenly get 2 trips worth of trade with like 5 or 6 of your traders, that is a lot of resources that he just gained out of thin air, out of nothing. And not only that, but if you don't stop it, it will just keep happening, and the opponent will be making more and more traders. So that is the real problem, in my opinion, with trading. Not that it is impossible to punish, but in team games, the distance between the opponents, just the amount that you need to cross to be able to attack, even if you do get there and they complete the trade, you're too late. But then they got those extra resources to make units, so then you suddenly just start falling behind. So I've played some 44 games recently, just for fun. I've queued up alone, and I've watched some games as well, and sometimes in an 8-man lobby where there's 44, sometimes I see 6 people go for trade. I'm not even kidding. Minimum I've seen is like 3 people going for trade, up to 6. Probably there's been games with 8, I'm assuming. And I think that comes from just not being able to deal with trade, so people are just like, fuck it, I'll trade as well. And most of the lobbies that I've seen are like French, Malian, Mongol, whatever. And everyone's just like, trade, go for it, and you just kind of try to, I guess, out-trade your opponent. So I do think it is a problem for 3v3 and 44 random games, because of how quickly it takes for the trader to pay back, aka one trip, and how easy it is to do, right? If you look at just normal macro, you gotta gather gold, you gotta gather wood, you gotta gather food. If you want to expand, you need stone. You gotta make sure you got this production building, that production building. Trading is one building, you're using wood and gold, and that's it. Once you make the trader, he does his own thing. You don't need to do anything. It just does its own thing. You don't need to move traders at any point. You don't need to rebalance your economy. That's just how it works. So, do I think that trade in general should be nerfed? No, I don't think so. I think trade as is fine. The problem becomes with map sizes and increased amount of players. Now, there are multiple solutions that can be done for trading in order to nerf it without disrupting one-on-ones, or maybe even 2v2s, or maybe disrupt 2v2s, fuck them. The first solution is very simple. And the first solution is just move the neutral trade markets more towards the middle of the map, and make it so that ally to ally trading, so not neutral market, but ally to ally trading, just nerf it another 50%. That solves the problem, in my opinion, in team games, because it will push the neutral posts to the middle, which will allow the opponents to attack the neutral trade posts from the enemy, because now you need to cross half the map, not full map, to attack them in the corner. Because the trade post will be towards the middle, you can't just wall it off super easily and defend it. You have to make insane amounts of walls to cover the whole trade route on the way to your base. And the opponent will be able to scout it a lot easier, like I said, and react to it. And by nerfing the ally to ally trading, you basically, you know, tell people like, yeah, you can trade corner to corner with your ally, but you're going to need to make like 3 trips or something to make up for one trader, which severely nerfs trading as that kind of playstyle. So you can have safer trade, but the return is much lower, and it doesn't kind of just overwhelm the opponent, you know, with the amount of economy you have. The reason I like that solution is because it does not disrupt one-on-ones. If you nerf ally to ally trading, that does not affect one-on-ones at all. And if you move the trade outposts towards the middle, in team games specifically, then that doesn't affect one-on-ones as well. So you didn't nerf trade directly, like you didn't nerf, you know, any your market to neutral market trading. You didn't nerf the movement speed, or you didn't nerf the resource cost, but you did affect it in team games. Another thing that I would like to be reverted is there's been a change a couple of months ago, and I don't know why this happened. I know that devs mentioned they want the trade to become more viable, and I feel like now it's viable and maybe we should tone it down. Again, not in the you know, amount of resources it gives for one-on-ones or whatever, but there's been a buff where traders got a lot of survivability, and that was done by giving them no longer a cavalry tag. So spearmen used to, like, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but it feels like spearmen used to like 3-shot traders. Now spearmen don't. So traders don't actually have a counter. I don't know what their unit type is, but I don't think they take bonus damage against anything. So before, if a spearman gets in the trade, like one spear can cause a mess. But now it's like one spear needs to hit like 15 times to kill one trader. And I think that's another thing that can be nerfed without necessarily saying, okay, trade's no longer viable. But if you give them cavalry tag back, then suddenly, you know, if spears get in there, you suddenly start losing some traders, which is how it should be. If your workers, or traders in this case, are exposed, you should be losing them. You shouldn't just tank them and kill the enemy units with your units. So I think those are kind of the ways that trading can be fixed, if you want to call it like that, to make it so that the team game players can still enjoy trading, can still enjoy going for a trade, and people that are, you know, not into trading, they can have more counters and ways to play against them and make it easier for them to punish it. Because I think that's, like I said, one of the big reasons why it's such a big problem. And moving the neutral markets towards the middle would also help with that solution. Now, if I did think that trading in one-on-one was overpowered or too strong, you know, I would probably call a nerf in general on that. But even if devs come out, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next patch, whenever that is. They said next pup is gonna be in January. I wouldn't be surprised seeing a trade nerf, even if they nerf like maybe 20% resources gained from the traders. That could still be a pretty good nerf, just so that if you complete one trade, the trader does not pay off. You gotta do at least 2 trades for the trade to be worth it, otherwise you're falling behind, which I think would be again, another possible and another great change. TLDR, I don't think trading is overpowered in 1-on-1 2v2. I personally don't think it's overpowered in 3v3 or 4v4 if you play arranged teams, if you are maybe a bit higher level. But I do see a problem in lower league games where, like I said, you know, not everyone plays this game 8 hours a day. Not everyone has 300 APM to deal with traders, to harass. So there are ways to fix that, and I hope that devs do something along the lines of what I suggested. I don't know what they have planned. I don't know if trading is going to get nerfed, but the amount of like posting about it and complaining about it, there's no way they did not see all the posts and stuff, and I would assume they are aware that trading is maybe getting a little bit out of hand for the more casual players. And that's it. If you're watching this on YouTube, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. A little discussion, no gameplay, just ranting. We're going to be uploading more Nomad games on YouTube. I know that you guys have been enjoying that on YouTube. I've uploaded 1-on-1 games before, but people are not too into it on YouTube, I think. It's more so like a Twitch thing, but Nomad games you guys like, so we'll do that. If you're on YouTube, check out my Twitch. I'm probably live right now because I stream 8 to 10 hours every single day. And that's it. YouTube gamers, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.